we have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck. Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and on the other side of the glass, as always, is my partner, Mark Wages. And if you didn't see Mark last night on the game show, you really need to go back and see it. It's Survival Game is the name of the show, and it's episode 23. And I don't know how much of it they may have had to edit out, but I tell you what, it was really funny stuff.
We didn't
No, I'm kidding.
It was
Almost kidding.
It was awesome.
It really was, it was a lot of fun. And I know that there were a bunch of people from the boat there. I appreciate everybody stopping by. And man, I don't know if you all had as much fun as I did, but that was really, really fun. Pamela, good to see you. And I want to welcome all of the new members to the boat. We're really glad to have you. We really are. And, people, we are at 3,016, as that fine gentleman said in the movie Jaws. I think we're going to need a bigger boat. Derek, again, good to see you. It's been a while, yeah, but I'm glad you're doing good. Glad to see you here. That's awesome. So today, people, we're going to talk about something that we probably don't talk about enough. Hey, Charlie, good to see you. You know what? And some prayers for Flamin' Jackson. I haven't seen Flamin' in a day or two. I think he's normally when that happens, he's having some health trouble. So some thoughts and prayers for Jackson. I remember when you were a kid and people would say something, and we did the whole sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I don't know who came up with that phrase, but it may be the dumbest phrase in history. There is more damage done every day with people's tongue than there is with anything else. It really is one of those situations that we have an amazing ability as human beings to heal people with the things that we say, to build relationships with the things that we say, and to lift people up. So often, however, that's not the direction that we go in. And currently, nobody argues the point that this is the largest health crisis in the history of our planet. And I'm not talking about the C plus math, right? That's not at all what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the number of people who are dying every single day from drug overdoses. And I want to give you a little bit of perspective. We talk about this a lot, and very often it just becomes numbers. And we've done some things in the past to try to put a face on this that makes more sense. We say things like 120 American households empty, right? Look around your neighborhood. Try to think of how many houses are in the neighborhood you live in. 120 houses empty every single day in this country. 300 people, right? So every 10 days, the entire crew of the lifeboat disappears. That's frightening stuff. But again, they're numbers. Mark and I talk about this a lot, and it's one of those things that you struggle to put some kind of reality to, because statistics are statistics, right? you don't view them as sons and daughters and sisters and brothers and mothers and fathers, right? You view them as numbers, and it's so to give
They
you a
don't have a
little bit.
personality. They're just what
No,
they
there's no
are.
personality. Exactly. There's no personality at all. It sounds cold,
Yep.
right? There's nothing about it that there's no warmth. There's no life, right, to those numbers. But to give you some kind of perspective, we compare drug addiction to diabetes often because both are a disease, right? And at least half of the people that get diabetes get it because of choices that they make in their life. The difference is you don't ever hear somebody say to a diabetic, "Oh, what's up, insulin?" Right? Hey, insulin, wimp or anything. We would never even dream of that, right?
Doesn't that
Or
sound like even comical just saying it?
yeah,
I mean,
right.
it's
Because it's
crazy.
just so messed up that it's not something anyone would ever dream of saying, right? Or if you had a friend who got cancer, you wouldn't. There's not a chance in hell you would say, "Hey, tumor boy,"
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Or hey, melanoma. There's just these aren't the kind of things that you can even wrap your brain around. As my partner says, it's almost humorous because it's just so far fetched, but it isn't, right? It's just far fetched for that. We have no problem whatsoever. And look, I know I'm going to have people right now who are going, "I've heard you call yourself a junkie how many times?" Right? And I'll tell you something. I do. Brandon Taylor, this boat is the greatest 3000. Congrats. In order, I love this boat and all that are here as crew. Love you, Tommy and Mark. Leave a comment and hit the like button. Thank you so much,
Love you,
Brandon. We're
brother.
proud of you,
For
bud.
sure.
We really are. We're proud of you.
Yep.
It's just what we got a lot of great people on this crew and this boat. We really do.
They really do.
The but you have heard me say, when I was a junkie, when I was living in the life, you've never heard me say it about someone else. And I'll tell you something. The reason that I use that term when I describe my past is for the exact reason I'm telling people not to use that word, right? Because of the power in that word and because of all of the connotations that the word junkie pulls up. I'm not talking about my drug addiction. I'm talking about the lifestyle that I adopted because of that drug addiction. I was not just a drug addict. I was a junkie. I was a guy that went out and stole and broke every law of God and man as a way to continue my drug use. I would never say it about someone else, and I certainly wouldn't use it to describe individuals. Now, admittedly, I find myself sometimes saying it, never in public, but it's something that I find myself saying. My partner and I will be somewhere and we'll see somebody that is it's obvious the person is on methamphetamine, and I find myself saying, "Boy, I think he was tweaking." And it's easy to do. It's something, and the reason it's easy to do is because it is so damn acceptable by our society. Because people who suffer from drug addiction are lepers, right?
Yep.
We're less than human. Can you imagine if somebody said, right now in America, about 241 people a day die and have written on their death certificate complications from diabetes? 241. It doesn't come anywhere close to touching the 300 that we lose every day to drug overdoses. That's a huge difference when you multiply it out by an entire year. It may not sound like a big difference per day, but over the course of a year, it's a very large number. And I'll tell you something, people, we talk all the time about how the statistics don't do any justice. Um, we tend to think of addiction as something that encompasses all, right? So alcohol must be in that number, correct? I mean, if we're losing 300 people a day to overdoses, we have to have drug overdoses and I mean alcohol overdoses and alcohol deaths in there, correct? No, we don't. Okay, if you want that number, it comes out to be 260 people a day. So if we take alcohol and we take overdose, we're at 560 people a day. And as we have said so many times since the very first day we started beating this drum, there's no there's no truth to that number either, right? The
You,
number
you
of
gotta
people who knock
you got
out behind the. Go ahead,
sorry.
Mark.
You gotta ask yourself, why do they separate that? You know what I mean?
Um, yeah, it's
That's
an
it's
excellent question, isn't it?
yeah. I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, 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 no.
I
Because
just
you make a really good point. And I'll tell you something. Make no mistake. They separate it because they don't want to tell the people in this country. that 560 people a day are checking out because of addiction.
Yep.
They would like this very much to be something that people don't talk about. In the very near future, we're going to be doing a sort of an expose here on a family called the Sacklers, right? Who I promise you have the blood of 90% of those deaths painted all over their rich hands, right? A family worth billions of dollars who the things that they did are so reprehensible when it comes to how they helped enslave this country intentionally in opiates to get rich, that the Louvre will no longer take their money. Last year, they said to the Louvre, we'd like to donate $25 million for an exhibit on such and such. And they said, yeah, we'll pass, right? The Metropolitan Museum in New York, yeah, the Met in New York had one of the largest protests in history when it comes to museums or art last year, where people came in and they took fake prescription pads and they threw them. If you've ever seen that building, it goes up in a circular. It's really an amazing building. And it was raining prescriptions, for a really long period of time. And then they laid down on the ground. And it basically, what happened is the museum said, yeah, we're not taking their money anymore either. They have very much sort of become lepers. But the reason is that they would like this to just go away, at least the story. The only reason that they're talking about this at the level they are now is because of people like Steve, and a lot of other people on the boat who called politicians and wrote letters. And the second reason is because now this is not something that they could keep in the poor part of town, or in a part of town that that we don't have to look at. Mark talks a lot about how when the first wave of heroin hit right after Vietnam, what did we peak at? 7,000 and change, right? Was the number of overdose deaths in a year. And America was appalled. And the vast majority of those deaths were from non-whites in very poor parts of New York City. These days, there's no place in America that hasn't been touched by this, which is the only reason they even want to talk about it. I assure you, they would just rather not ever bring this up.
It hit white
because
collar.
well, yeah, and really and realistically, when you start to look at this epidemic, there was so much that could have been done along the way to slow this down. There was so much that could have been done to cut down on the number of deaths. And as we've said before, I'm not bagging on Democrats or Republicans. I'm bagging on everybody, because each administration thought, I only got to get through 4 years. I don't have to deal with this. I just need to kick this down the road a little bit, do everything within our power to fudge the statistics a little bit, right? So if somebody nods out at the wheel after eating a couple of pills and crashes into a bridge embankment, we're going to put down automobile accident, right? There are all of these different ways that they can pad the numbers in the opposite direction to make it look as if people are dying in a different way. Hey, SG, good to see you. We were just talking about you. We're glad that you're here.
She's late.
Fun time.
She's gonna get detention. She's late.
That's right. We're not putting up with that. What is that? It's almost 15 minutes.
Something like that.
They will be held to pay.
You got to be writing your name on the chalkboard. Oh yeah, a better thing we could do: you draw a circle on the chalkboard just above where she has to stand on her tiptoes. Make her put her nose in it.
There you go.
My teacher used to do that to me, man. I hated that.
we had a teacher. My brother will start laughing when I say this, but we had a teacher named Mrs. Gordon, and the things that this woman did would probably land her life in prison today. I'm not kidding you. There was a kid that I went to school with named Mike Gino, who used to get caught cursing in school regularly. She would put red pepper into this kid's mouth and tie a bandana around it to keep it shut.
Oh my God!
Swear to you, swear to you, she was a whole lot of fun. Things have changed.
Oh
Things
my God! Thank you, Sir Rob. Well, me and Tommy talked before the show, didn't we, Tommy?
Last night was great.
It was such a great time. We all had just a really good time. So
I got emails. My brother says she scared me. Yeah, we had a lot of people that reached out to us last night. If you are brand new to the Lifeboat and you sent me an email, God bless you. I am going to be getting back to you. I answered, boy, I don't know how many last night. A lot. And I will get to every single one of them. I do not answer emails. So if it hasn't got back to you yet, it's just because I'm still working on the first 50 or so. But Ate my last pepper today at 7. Or no, I'm sorry, a 7-pot prima, or
Oh,
7-pot lava, sorry.
yeah.
Pretty hot. Well, good. There's nothing wrong with that's a very healthy addiction. I need to come on survival game.
Yeah.
Probably not, especially after I picked on Mark so bad and then he went on there and absolutely killed it. You think I'm going to go on there? No, no. See, all I could do now is look bad. That maybe if Mark had
Hey,
not done such a tremendous job.
I want a cool hat with a light on it though. So yeah,
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 nice.
pretty cool.
And it
Nice.
is actually a very, very cool hat. That's what I would have gone with too, by the way.
Yeah,
It's like it's more like a skull cap with a built-in
yeah,
light. It's
yeah.
not what you think. It's not the sort of the mining helmet thing.
Right, right.
What about the exit sign? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Who's that?
Exit sign. But that was Steve. I think he's probably making reference to that, which has not really been hung up yet.
I
The
see. Yeah, he is. He is
yeah, he's
for
trying to
sure.
show that he's still. Hey, Brandon Calloway, good to see you, bud. The exit sign behind. I figured, you know what? Occasionally, I have people that I can do this one. Yeah, you don't like it? Get out. Right? That's the. It says at the bottom. You can't see it, but it's got an arrow that says "way out." So that will probably be hanging
It's actually a nice
hanging
looking
up
sign. I
pretty
like it.
soon. Yeah, it's a pretty cool one. It's a vintage sign too, which I kind of dig. So yeah, I think it's really important, people, that we start to get a handle on what on the power that we have in the words that we use. Um, we every day, or at least 90% of the time, after I show you a cat in a basket, I implore you to go out and try to save somebody. And unfortunately, the things like junkie, right? You wouldn't go up to somebody and say, "Hey, you know what? I think you really need help. You're a junkie." Right? Probably not something that you would use in an approach. However, the words that you use when you approach someone, 9 out of 10 times are going to run that person off by accident. Right? It's never going to be something where hey, trash. You've literally turned yourself into trash. But people say things without thinking about it that um, really push away people that you're trying to help. Right? The number one thing that you can convey to anybody that you're trying to get help to is twofold. Right? Number one, you understand that what's happened to them is not 100% their fault. I don't think you have to go up to somebody and say, not your fault, completely innocent in this entire thing. What you need to say is, you know, everybody has done drugs. But if you have the predisposition, if you're someone who has a medical condition, and if you want to argue this point, say that thing, get.
I love it.
This is not a point that can be argued. Seriously. I mean, if you want to, it's like saying, the question mark really means something other than question. It is established at this point. There are so many studies, there are so many verifiable ways to take a picture of two brains and say, this one is different than the other one. And you could take that to its full extreme. You can take brain scans of people that a doctor has never seen, put 25 of them on a table and say, please identify the 6 drug addicts in this picture. I mean, in these scans. And a doctor will go up and go, that one, that one, that one, in the top left. No problem whatsoever. This is no longer a debatable issue. There is a absolute difference between the brain of somebody who is a drug addict or a person who's addicted to alcohol. And I'll be honest with you, I throw in a person addicted to alcohol. It's the same thing. It is the exact same
I
thing.
agree with that. I really do.
It is.
It's
Alcohol is a drug. You ever get a hangover? Right? That's withdrawal.
yep.
It's exactly what it is. It's acute alcohol withdrawal. So it does not matter, which poison we're talking about, but the you want to let people know that you understand, right? You take the average person in this country, and 90% have experimented with drugs. The difference is not that, and this is such a common misconception. Well, the difference is that you went out and experimented with this, but you're solid, and this person is weak. One thing's got nothing to do with the other at all. Nothing. What it is one individual has the opportunity to beat this, and one is going to get addicted. It's just that simple, and it's a chemical thing inside the brain. DJ Daddio, to get that circle on the board for him as well. Good to see you, bud. We're not going to pick on you for. Hey, did I see hello flaming?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, good, Jackson. Good to see you,
Yeah.
bud. We were talking about you earlier.
Yeah. He
I'm
texted
glad.
me. He was earlier, just a few minutes ago. So and he popped in. So
Okay, good.
yep.
The major says alcoholism is absolutely horrible. I agree with you, man. I really do, and I can't. My heart goes out to people who suffer with the addiction of alcohol, and there are people who have no problem with the word alcoholism. There are people who struggle with that word. The newest euphemism, I guess, is alcohol use disorder. You can call it whatever the hell you want, right? It's an addiction to alcohol.
Yep.
And my heart goes out to people addicted to alcohol because when you get sober, it's going to be something that is in your face for the rest of your life. And that's, I say all the time on here, if you've been on the boat for any length of time, you've heard me say this, but I'm never going to go to a Christmas party and after the dinner, someone's going to go, who wants to do a shot, right? And just bring some heroin to the table. That's not something that I'm going to have to endure in my life. But someone with alcohol addiction is going to have to deal with people who say, with the best of intentions, right? Who don't think they're doing a thing wrong. Um, you guys want an after dinner drink, right? We have cordials, we have this. Who wants to drink some champagne? And it's just something that very often is associated with so many things in youth youthism. Well, interesting. There's a there is a lot of statistics these days that are pointing to the fact that the age at which people become addicted to alcohol is actually lower than almost any other drug. And I think that there's something fascinating in that from just a sort of I guess, a scientific kind of a thing, because statistically speaking, it is no longer the first drug that people experiment with. In fact, it's not even close. They're saying that now the drugs that people experiment with at the youngest age come out of medicine chests. And, so keep that in mind as well, right? Lock that stuff up. But really start thinking about the words that you use, because the amount of damage that can be done. If you knew how many times people have gone to try to help a loved one with the best of intent, and before that conversation is over, it's not just a matter of I'm not gonna let this person reach out to me. Very often it's I'm never going to let this person reach out to me, right? One of the real afflictions of addiction is that drug addicts can hold a grudge longer than anybody on the planet. We seek out righteous indignation more than anybody on the planet, right? We want the ability to say, well, they said this, right? They had the nerve to call me whatever. As we've said so many times, we're always looking for an excuse for the next buzz. We're always looking for a justification for spending the next 3 years in a bottle or in a spoon or whatever your choice might be.
Yep.
What kind of music do planets listen to? Neptunes. Oh boy,
Oh,
he's running out of material.
dude. Yeah, man, you need to. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
step
just
it up. You are running out of material. We're worried about you.
I tell you, go get a library card, but those don't exist anymore.
No, they really don't.
But
I don't believe that
I,
they do.
I would like to make a point here. When we're talking about like using words, sticks and stones, and all that, guys, the words have no meaning until we give it one. And and I'm telling you, it really is about what's behind it and who's saying it and how you're saying it. We who decided that, and forgive me here, it's a cuss word. Who decided fuck is a bad word?
The etymology of that word
Yeah.
goes back.
Well,
The
what I'm saying is that you could swap that with the word wall,
anything else, right?
and it
Anything
applies.
else.
It's about the intent behind it, and and oftentimes with sticks and stones, like we're talking about here, it is that intent. Intent. You don't. It's all in the tone. It's all in the body language, and that's all stuff that you have to take in consideration when somebody uses that. Like Tommy said earlier, when he said something about using it, hey, he's using the word junkie, this and that. There's a reason. Number one, it becomes almost a habit. It's part of our society, and that includes me and Tommy. We have to break out of that ourselves. It is one of those things that we have to concentrate on too, because it is part of our societal vocabulary. It just really is,
Absolutely.
and we have to break
Absolutely.
that to make a difference here, and that's what we're trying to do. And
The there's also a decent amount of comedy once again that if if I said, well, we're gonna make a film, and we're gonna make it about 3 or 4 people who have cancer, it's going to be a comedy, you'd go, what? Right? Like the dumbest concept in history, right?
Yeah.
But there is an awful lot of fodder in Hollywood that is wrapped around entire movies that just celebrate the fact that 4 or 5 people are so wasted that they can't remember the last 3 days of their life.
Yep.
And we're all guilty of watching these things and laughing, and I'm not busting anybody's chops for doing it, but you understand that. I mean, The Hangover was funny as hell,
Yeah.
but the concept behind this is one of the reasons that, oh, Chi-Chi, good to see you. I love it when Chi-Chi's here. It's one of those things that, this is so pervasive in our society, right? That people, and we're all guilty of it, whether we want to be or not. There is just a certain, like we were joking about earlier, right? You would never bust on somebody for being a diabetic, right? You would never laugh at anybody for being a diabetic. What happened? He passed out at dinner, right? Can't control his blood sugar. But somebody who drinks themselves and passes out at dinner is a story that'll get told for 5 years. He puked into the punch bowl, right? These are things that are truthfully heart wrenching. To see someone, oh,
I'm pushing a popsicle up for my dog.
okay, I wasn't sure where we were going with that.
Yeah,
Usually when Mark leans out of the screen, it's to hug somebody. So I thought it was a safe bet. But yeah, we the words that we choose, especially as people that are sort of on the cutting edge. You know what I mean? We're we kind of have to hold ourselves to a bit of a higher standard. And if you sent me an email recently, right, and it was about somebody that you care about, and you used one of these terms, I'm not picking on you in particular. Okay. However, I would say I got 6 emails in the last couple of days that helped bring on this subject. These are people who came to the boat for information because they very badly want to, to help their loved one, who has just become a dirty drug addict, and you read that and you go, you're writing this to a dirty drug addict, right? We're not, I'm not any better, and neither is my partner or anyone else on the boat. The reason that we don't kick people off who come here and say, hey, I drank a half a fifth before I got here today, is because we're not better than somebody that's continuing to use, right? We're chemical free. We're still addicts, right? That's always going to be the case. And I know I'll get some arguments on this tonight too, because there are people who say, well, I'm cured.
It's
God
okay.
bless you.
It's okay.
Yeah, God bless you.
Yep.
The problem with being cured of something is that you tend to believe that, right? So if you're cured of your addiction, no reason you couldn't just have one, right?
Yep.
Okay. Therein lies the real problem with not having a handle on the fact that addiction is a lifelong affliction. This is not something that you ever get over. And we got a lot of new people on the boat, and some of them are just, I mean, the way that people come in here and just immediately become part of the fabric of this is just astounding. I don't know, if this is, I have no perspective on the YouTube thing. My partner does, but
it's amazing. I'll just say that.
It really is just amazing. People come in here and you would have thought that a lot of these people have been here since day one because they just,
we got a lot of new people on the boat.
There's certainly understanding to that.
Hey,
and if you just called in, kill that.
Yeah, thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
Perfect. And we're, it's, we can do better on the like button, says Seventh Son. Do you know why we beat that drum, people? Let me explain this to you. I've probably explained it before, but when you hit the like button while the video is still going on, the algorithm goes, hey, what's up? They like this enough to hit the like button now, and they actually start to push this out while we're still talking. And that's the best case scenario for finding new people that really need sobriety, right? This is, this is more of a mission than anything else. Our goal is,
we don't say that enough, Tommy. We really don't. I think
no, we don't.
And I think it's because we kind of push against doing those kinds of things because we kind of feel bad when we do, like we're doing something wrong. And I don't think that we are. I really don't. And it's one of those, I don't know, because you hear so many people say, "Well, they're just worried about this, that, and the third." Well, I'll tell you what I'm worried about: getting that like getting that like number up so we can get more people here so we can help them. It's not about the number that's actually we're looking at. It's about the end result, and that's really what it comes down to. So anyway, I'm sorry I went off a little rant there.
No. You know what? Seventh Son, this is a better effort. Why are helium, curium, and barium the medical elements? Because if you can't helium or curium, you bury them. All right, much better than the last
better.
attempt.
Yes.
We're gonna let you stick around for a little longer.
Who we got?
Yeah, well done.
Who we got on the line? I don't know who that is. Is that Johnny or is that?
It's Johnny.
That's what I thought.
Hey!
I thought that was your number, man. What's going on, brother?
Do you
It is.
no security at the gate whatsoever? Hey, brother, how are you?
You know, since the last time I called in, I figured you would have stepped up security a little bit, but whatever.
At least a bouncer, right?
No, I'm good. You know what? The reason I called in, it's really funny. We're talking about words. You know, owning it personally, that's good. I can't own your problem. And when you start using names that are going to, you know, it'd be horrifying if I said something in the wrong way and drove somebody away or drove somebody back to the bottle or something because of the wrong word I said. So there's a big difference. And I've been guilty of it. Tommy, you know I've been guilty of it. But that's why I think it's so important to personally own it and keep that your personal ownership completely separate from somebody else's, because it's their job. It's what personal owner, you got to personally do it. You can't do it for someone else. That's really big for me.
You know what?
Good point.
I don't ever want, listen, the scariest thing in the world is to say something that would drive somebody back. And that's terrifying. What a horrible life. You know, when you're in the life, it's not worth living. It's just, you know, you're a zombie, you're a vampire, and you hate it. And the idea of something that I could say or some of my actions could drive somebody back to that is just, it's more than horrifying.
It is.
And
it's scary.
And you know, if you, it is scary. And it's one of those things that, I mean, when you sit and you think about it, you go, I would never say anything that would drive somebody back. Right. I mean, I would never do that. I would never put anybody on blast, but I could say 4 names right now. And if you've been on the boat for any length of time, you would go, oh yeah, where is that person? And in all 4 of these people's lives, something I said in an email was used as an excuse to leave the boat and go back to what they were doing. And the reason that this doesn't literally drive me insane is I spent so much time as an addict where I looked for anything that was an excuse, right? I had like a small satchel that I carried that was full of my top 4 or 5 favorite excuses, so that when somebody wanted to give me crap for being a heroin addict, I could say, well, this, and this, and then I could go use. But we have lost some people on the boat that I care greatly about, because sometimes too, it is. It is. It absolutely is. And I know that there are people right now on the boat going, I know exactly who he's talking about. But it is what it is. What it is. You know, it's, you know, we would never do it intentionally, but you do. You know, Johnny really makes a great point too. To call yourself a drunk, that's just owning it. To call someone else a drunk is irresponsible. You know, it's the power behind those words can go in both directions. And I think I know a lot of people who will say, boy, when I was a lush, you know, or I was just a drunk, they're trying to, you know, there's a reason they're using that term when describing themselves. And it's because it's such a,
they're taking accountability right there.
Correct. Right. They're beating themselves.
Can I tell you something interesting?
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No.
Remember that morning, Tommy, remember the morning that you called me and I was home and you were going to confront me on my drinking? And I told you, hey, dude, I didn't say to you, I'm an alcoholic. Remember what I told you? I said, I'm a lush. I couldn't even say the word alcoholic. I said, to be really honest, I got to tell you something. I still have a problem with it. I am. I am what I am, but I still have difficulty with that word. And it's not that I don't own it. I am. I am an alcoholic. That's all there is to it. You know, you were talking yesterday. I remember someone said if there was a pill you could take and you'd have sobriety forever, I'd want 2 of those pills or 3. And that is the reason that I can't do anything. I just can't, because that's my mind.
Yeah. Do you know what's really funny? I didn't get that when you said it, but I got an email about it. Right. Yeah. For real. Like when he said, well, I'd want 2 or 3 of those, I thought, right. we kind of overdo everything. And I just thought, maybe hyperbole or whatever. But I got an email from someone who said, that's really one of the most astute things I've ever heard anyone say about addiction. And I went, oh, holy crap.
It is, isn't
he
it?
meant he would
Yeah.
abuse the pills. Like, I didn't get that at all when you said it, but
Yeah. It's
that's pretty amazing stuff.
That's it's a really good point, Johnny. It really is, because and again, it goes back to words mean things, and each word means something. That the word alcoholism or alcoholic or whatever meant something really big for you, or you wouldn't be afraid to say it.
I was for a long time, and I just when you're something for a long time, you want to avoid it. You don't want to talk about it. Papa Scoville told Tommy and I forever. How many times, Tommy, did you hear him say words matter?
Words mean
and
things.
They really do. And not to bring the Bible into it, but there's a passage that says hung by the tongue. I'll tell you something. There's so much power in the spoken word, in the written word too, but the spoken word. And the reason it's so scary is you don't know who's going to hear what you say and take it the wrong way. As a content creator, listen to me. I've made 4,033 videos in 6 years. I'm positive I've said something to turn somebody away. And I'm positive I've said something that, while it may be good now, 5 years from now, someone's going to try to cancel me for it. It's just the way it is. But I'll tell you, it's terrifying because it's so easy to say the wrong thing. You know how I know? I've heard so many people say the wrong thing that hurt me. Yeah. And it's just the way it is.
You bring up the biblical thing there too, and it really is. If you think about that, anybody that's a Christian or lived that life for any length of time or knows anything about it, the whole religion itself is based on a book that is used as a weapon. Why is it a weapon? It's the words inside it. It's the words. It's what everybody's talking. It's what they're saying, and those things hurt us more. There's things that have been said to me. I would rather just take a baseball bat upside my own head than for those words to ever be spoke to me again. Those kinds of things.
Yep.
They hurt, and and for us to just kind of nonchalantly just skip over it would be irresponsible. It really would, because there's people out there that's going to feel certain ways about certain things, and we can't always stop that. We get that. We're not that naive. You know what I mean? We're going to say certain things. It's all, like I said earlier, it's about the intent and what's behind who's saying it, how it's being said. All those things have to be taken in consideration. Because you can read any word if you put a voiceover, like a robot voice on it. And it sounds completely different, and it takes on a whole different meaning than if I said, hey, you're a jerk. Or if I'm saying, hey, you are a jerk.
Right.
Does that make any sense? I hope I'm not the only one that thinks like that, but I don't know.
No, one of the other things too, I'll be really honest, with me, and if somebody says, boy, you were really a junkie, it's not something that bothers me in the slightest. But when people talk about my past and they bring up things that really were my character faults, like I talked to somebody who said to me, it's just really hard to believe anything you tell me because of, knowing you from your past. And that was like getting punched in the stomach. It's like Mark said,
that's been hitting me a lot. That's been hitting me so much lately too. One thing about everybody on this boat, anybody who's ever been an addict, pathological liars, all of us.
Yes.
You can't be an addict and be truthful. You just can't. So one of the greatest things about sobriety is living in truth. That is the coolest thing in the whole world. I want to say one other thing, and then I'm going to duck out because I want to watch this. This is a great show. But man, last night, somebody, I don't know who said it, but man, have you ever had somebody say something, you get chills, but every single time you think of it for the next 6 hours, you get chills again? I don't know who it was last night, but when they said, I want to meet God sober, I just got chills just saying it right now. I just got chills saying it right now. Listen to me, when I look at my maker, I'm going to be as sober as a church mouse. I promise you that. Anyway, I love you, Tommy. I love you, Mark. I love the boat. And I'm going to duck out of here now and just and just watch because you guys are awesome.
Great call, man.
Love back at you, brother. Always love.
Love you guys.
Yep. Great call. And I would really like to say, Survival Game gets a big high five for for bringing up that question last night, and it's absolutely amazing to me that. Like she literally pulled that off the top of her head. It has been used by some of the smartest people in rehab in the past, but because it's one of those things that really gets people thinking. If you weren't here last night, I want you to really think about what she said, because I think it's just fascinating. But she said, if you found out that the world was about to end, right? That you have 1 day left, you have 2 days, or whatever the number is. Would you ride it out sober, or knowing that, well, stuff's not going to kill me in the long haul, because there is no long haul? Would you go back to to abusing your drug of choice? And it's really one of the most fascinating things to think about. It really is. And it was funny because last night on her show, she was like, "Yeah, sorry for that question." I was like, "What are you kidding?" That got people talking, in a way that just was so healthy. And I also want to do a high five to the Major. While we were talking earlier, the Major wrote, "I'm an alcoholic and I always will be." And in the time that you've been here, you've talked about drinking too much. You've talked about, I've never heard you say anything like that. And, the saying it the first time or the second time, right? That it's coming to the realization that we have the inability to control something is a difficult thing as a human being, right? There is something attached to that makes us feel like we're failures at drinking, or we're failures at drugging, right? Like, that person can do drugs and have a great time, and then they go home and they go about work. Well, I can't do that. And there is something in there that is a very difficult thing for most of us to do. And I'm impressed by it. I really am. So well played, Major. Good stuff.
And I have to say this too. Me and Ilea talked about that very thing after her show last night. That question.
Is that right?
Yeah, and it was, we had a 15-minute conversation after, just on that. It was amazing, because that question, and when I said that had never been asked to me before, I am not kidding. Nobody had ever asked me that, not even close to something like that. What would you do? Would you run back to your drug, or would you do something different? That's really what it boils down to. I mean, that's why we ask ourselves that question. And I think what it is it kind of gives you a really good idea and a good gauge of where you're at in your sobriety, because at certain levels you're going to answer that question different. I would say that a person that's early on in recovery might say, "Well, shoot, load me up." You know what I mean? I mean, ain't that what most likely you would say that? Because it's really tough. It's in the beginning. It truly is.
No question.
And as you get further on in your recovery, especially in the mental aspect of it, you start, like we talk about all the time, that moment of clarity gets stretched out to days of clarity. Now you're getting weeks of clarity. Now you're getting months. You start seeing things for what they are. And
a lifetime
exactly what Johnny was saying
clarity.
Earlier.
Yep.
It just,
there was a comment earlier too, and I'm the Duke of forgetting things. And I think that's just sort of that's the brain injury. It's not just the drugs, but the Jonathan Hicks said earlier, when we started to talk about this subject, he said, I think I might bail. No hard feelings, but I don't much go for the hippy dippy stuff, referring to people's feelings and hurting them or whatever. And while I respect that, let me at least explain to you why we go down the hippy dippy.
That's good. Yeah. That's a good
Yeah.
one.
The touchy feely stuff. And I'll tell you really what it boils down to is that whether you realize it or not, right? It is what drives addiction, right? The very first things that cause every single relapse is a hiccup in feelings. It is a hiccup in emotions. It's something that somebody says. It's something that somebody takes the wrong way. And if you knew how many times, right? There's no way to even quantify how many times somebody takes something that somebody says the wrong way, and that's the end of it. I was engaged to be married to a girl my brother would probably remember. Not one of my better pieces of judgment either, but her brother came home intoxicated. He was a high school student who had just gotten into college, and he went out with some friends and just got liquored up. And when he came home, his mother said to him, "Oh, great, look at how much you drink. You're going to end up an alcoholic like your father." And he turned around and walked out of the house angry, and they never saw him again. A little over a year later, they found his remains on Lake Ontario. He had broken through ice, and apparently that was the end. But the number of people whose lives were ended because somebody said something that wasn't touchy feely, right? Or they said something that just rubbed people the wrong way. And I promise you, I won't have anybody sing "Kumbaya," right? And we might, I may not show up in the tie dye, but there's really something to be said for going out of your way to make sure that the words that you say don't hurt people in certain ways more than others. I'm not here to tell you that I'm woke and that political correctness is the way to go. There's a lot of things that I really don't care if I hurt your feelings about. That's just a fact. But this is one that is really life or death stuff, right? The numbers that I was spitting out in the beginning of this show basically amount to the fact that you're more likely to die from drugs or alcohol than from anything else on this planet right now. That's never happened. Do you understand that? There's never been a time in history where the number one cause of death for the age of people who don't die, premature death in this country anyway, is anything below 75 is diagnosed as premature death. If you hit 75 and you die after that, that's considered normal. Whatever takes you off the planet, that's just a normal cause of death. However, if you die before that, 18 to 48 is the time when you're not supposed to die, right? Like that's the time when you're supposed to be sort of in your prime. And right now that the number one cause of death is overdose. And we're not throwing in 260 alcohol deaths a day into that statistic. So if you take the both of them and then throw in a little drunken driving, car wrecks, right? Which also doesn't go into the 260 alcohol deaths.
I was going to say that. I'm glad you said
right.
That.
By the time it's all said and done, you're literally looking at 1,000 people a day that are getting taken off the planet because of this plague that we're all under. So I love you, brother. Hopefully we see you on the next one. I'm not upset at you at all, but I do want people to understand, we're never doing one of these things for any reason other than the fact that it hurts people,
Right.
Hold on one second.
Yeah. And I see them. They're commenting on. I came up with a number for days sober here on the lifeboat. It's on the screen now. That's a pretty big number if you guys look at it. That right there is going to tell you how many days of experience we all have and can share with each other. And it really kind of puts in perspective how powerful this could be and how powerful it actually is.
So Ajot, who I do remember now, is our friend from Texas. See that? Huh? He says, I walked away from YouTube for a week because I chose to move to a different city. And when I came back in every chat, I was there was at least one person just bashing me for my past choices. What? It's a perfect example of exactly what we're talking about, right? We're glad you're back. And we walked away from YouTube. If you've been on the boat for any length of time, last November and December, right? We were gone for a chunk of that because we were worried that there were people that were bashing crew members. And, you want to call me a dirty junkie or, whatever you do, all of the things that they like to throw at us. It is what it is. And when you choose to do a channel, you're going to take the slings and arrows. That's just part of the deal. And if you choose to do one and you tell the world you're a drug addict and a bank robber, you're really going to take some hell. I'm cool that Mark's, been doing it now for so long. It's just second nature. But we couldn't stand seeing it happen to the crew. But the truth of the matter is that if you allow these things to get you off the direction that you're going in, right? I'm not saying that you got to know what's coming. Another part of this discussion that is real is that you have to sort of understand that if you come here and you say, boy, I really want to get high today, there are going to be at least 2,500 of the 3,000 people here that are going to go, I get it. Makes perfect sense to me. And that's something that, the world can understand. If you say that to somebody who isn't in recovery, you're going to be judged. Now, there's only a couple of ways to deal with that. And one of them is to hate that person for the rest of eternity. The sad part is very often it's a family member or a best friend, right? It doesn't make them bad people. It makes them not addicts.
Right.
You understand?
Can I
ask
go ahead,
Tommy?
You know,
Yeah.
when that happens, guys, if you come in here and somebody's bashing you for what you're doing, or and I use that word bashing really really lightly there, because we don't allow people to bash. Number
We
one,
certainly try not
and
to.
we
Yeah.
try not to our best. And if somebody might have offended you or said something the wrong way, but what I would say here is that instead of focusing on that one or two comments, look at the other 30 that are out there giving you praise and trying to help you. You know, just focus on that. It's all about the perspective and what you're looking at and how you're looking at it. And I get, because especially when you're in that early stage, I know that it's hard. I really do. I get it. I think we all get it. And that's the point. We all get it. We know how it feels. So we try not to do that to one another. So if that happens, the first thing I would ask is it really what that person meant? And then if it is, then you might address it and try to address it in the way that needs addressed or what have you. But then, look at the other people that are, holding you up. And that's what we're trying to do. I mean, there's always, I would have to say what'd you say before when we came on? 3016, what you said?
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yep.
We're going to
3016.
call it 3020. I would have to say that there's probably 3019 people holding you up, and one might have said something to you. So, I mean, it's just what we see, and again, everybody takes the words different, and that's why we talk about this stuff. And
there was a comment.
If that happens to you, one more thing. If that happens to you, say something. Let us know.
Yeah, and don't walk away.
Right.
We lost a couple of really great people who walked away, and if you really look at the reasons behind it, it's just silly as hell. But there was a comment, and I don't remember who put it up, that said, I love you too, Virginia. There was a comment that said, words have no power. And, it's a great concept. Unfortunately, it's horse crap. And I'm not bagging on you for the comment. And I honestly don't know who I'm bagging on anyway, but the words have power because we give them power, right? Like Mark said earlier, what made that word something? Well, because we have allowed that word to mean something that, certainly I've told the story before, if you're in prison, there are two words that instantly will get you into a fist fight. And I'm not saying it's going to offend somebody. These are words that have been determined that if you don't get up and fight the person who says it to you, then they're going to go in and rob you and beat you, and you will be out of there by the end of the day. So your only option is just to get up and get in a fist fight. Now, they're just two words. They're not something that ever would have, they're words that didn't mean anything outside of prison, right? But because that environment gave those words that much power, the 5 or 6 times somebody said them to me, I got up and punched them, right? Because the society that I was in had given them power. And there are words that we have given power. Now, we could try to get thick-skinned, and we could try to walk away, and we could try to do all that. Those are all really good things. But your best bet is don't be on the other end of that ever, right? There's just no reason to take words that society has given power to, like, junkie or lush or any of those things, and put them toward anybody else.
Yep.
Right? It doesn't pay off. There's no reason for it. And certainly let's not do it here. And probably more importantly, let's not do it to people who haven't got here yet. Because there's a damn good chance that if I said it to somebody here on the boat, they'd go, I'm
That's
sure
a great
Tommy
point,
didn't buy that, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
We
all know that everybody here cares.
Yeah. And I think it's evident, and let me say this too, we get it. Honestly, I know we get it, because there's certain things that somebody might say to me throughout my day, right? It doesn't mean that, and I'll take it a certain way. And sometimes it just doesn't mean that. Sometimes it's something else, and especially when we're in our feelings like we get sometimes. When you're in early recovery, guys, you're always in your feelings. Okay?
Right.
So things are everything is on the surface, man. It's fresh cut, open.
Raw.
It's hard. Make no doubt about it, guys. It is rough. And that's why, I for me, what helped close that wound? Medicated assisted treatment. And I hate to say it like that, but
no, it actually makes perfect sense, because when the opioid receptors at the base of your brain are raw and uncovered, it's like a broken tooth, right? With the nerve exposed. And you could take a numbing agent and rub it on that nerve. And it's really the equivalent of exactly what buprenorphine is doing to your to the base of your brain. Verte makes a great comment. I mean, this really kind of nails it. He says, humans think in words and rhetoric. I talk to people on the Schumann stuff all the time. Words direct the thinking. This is both good and bad. Humans can't escape it. Words are how people think. And just briefly, think about how intelligent a comment that is, right? You can't have a thought that you haven't put into words so you can interpret your own thoughts, right? You can even look at a beautiful sunset. What was the first thing you think? Boy, that's beautiful, right? Without words, what do you think? Oh, right. Yep. We do think in words. There's no way around it. Birthday, great comment, man.
Yep. Hey,
I wish I had said that. Thank you, Fee.
Yeah, thank you. That was awesome. I was going to say that. But Flameman, if you guys hear and I know this is kind of inside baseball or whatever, but if I'm low, if my volume's low, let me know. I try to run right on the edge because when I get my volume up to where it's like really easy for you guys to hear and me not to have to speak like loudly, we get it's not really even an echo. It's like I don't know. It's just like it's a really weird reverb we get if I've got my volume up all the way. So that's why I don't have it up all the way. So just let me know if that stuff's happening so I can try to help you guys out there. So I know it's brutal watching a stream trying to sit there and just like turn your ears up. You know what I mean? It sucks.
Yeah.
So just let me know if that happens again.
Yeah, you have my word. You know what? I absolutely love this boat. I really do, and everybody on it. And John says your volume is prime, bro, and I think he's probably right.
I turned it up a little bit when he said that. Flameman said that to me. So yeah,
perfect.
Yep.
A feedback noise mark is what? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Leisure probably nailed it. Yeah, when it gets too high, you get a little bit of feedback. And Ladybug says your volume is low.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll look at that. Yeah, we can take a look.
But we'll have to walk the fine line between them. Yeah. Ladybug, good to see you.
It's good to see you.
If you could explain philosophy and math through interpretive dance, it would be different. Yet the language of humans was confounded. Your species doesn't think in terms of dance now. It's an interesting concept, right?
Yes.
Can you explain algebra? Hold on a second.
Right? Yeah, get a flag out and start jumping around. Yeah.
Probably not going to happen. Good stuff.
Yes. Oh, Johnny, that's a great comment, brother.
Yep.
Be invested in others' recovery. That is so key. That is why me and Tommy do what we do. We are invested in every one of your guys' recovery and each other's. And that's why this helps
for the greediest purposes on the planet, by the way.
Yes.
I have found over time that the more I get concerned about other people getting sober, the less chance I have of me not staying sober. That is just hard and fast as a rule in my life. It really works beautifully. And
yes.
Fiona says that would have made math class more fun. No question. Maybe that's why I did so poorly in math.
Yep.
Yeah, Chi-Chi, being there for one another matters. It does, and it secures your sobriety, whether you realize it or not.
Yep.
Truthfully, it's the reason it's the 12th step in all of the 12-step programs. And you know that I don't beat the drum for 12-step programs. In terms of here, we don't work through steps and do all of that stuff. But you can't. There's no arguing with success, right?
Yep. And I would say this to you guys: my interpretive dance, I twerk.
Oh Lord!
Just so you know.
And boy, is that a visual image to end the show on, huh? Perfect. And if you think that's bad, you really need to go watch last night's game show over on Survival Game. What was it again? Was it number 23? 23. You definitely want to go and see that.
I got Jordan's number, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Put my J's on, man. Slam dunk of basketball. Heck
yeah.
Heck yeah. We are at the top, Tommy. I'm not sure if you've seen that.
Yep. So, okay, sorry. Just making sure I wasn't.
No, that's cool.
Okay.
I just want to.
I was making sure I didn't see any comments or anything that I had missed. But I think we're good. Oh, is that Damon or Damone?
Yep.
Good to see you. Welcome to the boat. Yeah, game knows what I'm laughing about. All right, people. We will be back tomorrow night. Right? What's tomorrow? Oh yeah, we got plenty of week left.
We got 2 days.
Plenty of week left. Tomorrow's Monday. So we will be back tomorrow night. Same bat time, same bat channel. Between now and then, let's think about the things that we say to other people, and let's be hippy dippy and lovey and feely, because I think it pays off in the long run. And reach out and try to save somebody. Yes. Sorry. All righty. I am Captain Tommy Scoville on the other side of the glass.
Mark Wages.
And Blue Dazzlebug says, love you all and love Squirrel. Cat in a basket. Good night, everybody. We love you.